Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Garden School. Well, it's Easter time, so happy Easter! Some of the things we think about at Easter time, one of the things is tulips, and you might be thinking, well, this year Easter comes like in the beginning of April and my tulips aren't up. They're not blooming. I can barely see some of the leaves coming up. What's going on with that? Other years, you might be thinking, well, my tulips were gone a couple weeks ago because we had such a warm spring. And what's up with that? I thought tulips and Easter were the same thing. Well, no, they're not. So one thing that you might think about is tulips like this big pot of tulips here that I got 2 months ago as a gift. They were forced in a nursery, and that was really nice because now at our Easter time, I've got these beautiful tulips blooming in this nice pot. It's very pretty. One of the questions you might have is, well, why is there so much variation in the dates of Easter? So this goes back to maybe the 4th or 5th centuries. Christians were trying to determine a date where they could all celebrate the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. And it was determined that Easter would be celebrated on the first Sunday following the first full moon following the spring equinox. Sounds like a simple formula, and it's been tweaked a little bit through the ages. Oh, one thing, I'm talking about the way Easter is established as the date for the Western Christian Church, because in the Eastern Orthodox Church they use a little different calendar. But for the Western Christian Church, let's say the spring equinox it could be March 20th or 21st. Let's say it's March 20th. So the first full moon that could happen could be March 21st. And then the first Sunday following that could be the next day, March 22nd. So Easter can be celebrated as early as March 22nd. Well, now what about the later dates? Okay, so let's go back to the vernal equinox, the spring equinox. That could also be March 21st. So let's just say it's March 21st. Well, what's the latest day that there could be the first full moon following that? Well, the lunar cycle is approximately 28 days. So let's say March 21st plus 28. I think that brings us like to April 18th or something like that. Well, then what is the latest date that could be the first Sunday following April 18th? Well, add 7 days because April 18th could be the Sunday. Add 7 so you get to April 25th. So Easter, the celebration of Easter Day, could be between March 22nd and April 25th. That's a long time, especially in the active springtime that we have here in the Puget Sound area. We know that during that time there is a great change in the amount of light that we get during the day. Great increase. There's also a change in the temperature. Generally the temperature increases, but we can still have those cold nights. So the range of temperature in a given day could be quite a bit more than what we've experienced earlier in March and in the wintertime. Another thing is the amount of rain. So the weather in general can really change during that time. It's a period of great change. And when we think about that, if you have a very early Easter date, your tulips may not even have their leaves emerged yet. If you have a very late Easter date and have had a warm spring, they may be all bloomed out. So as you're thinking about your garden and what you like to see around your Easter time, think about what you may or may not have. If you really want the tulips for that particular year, you can go to a nursery. Even a grocery store at this time of year has forced tulips, like that big pot of tulips that I showed you earlier. And you can pop those in the ground or in a pot and just have those around as your beautiful decoration. Now, one thing is that in our region, there's the Skagit Valley where they grow many, many, many acres of tulips. So if you really want to see tulips, check out the Skagit Valley Tulip Growers Association and find out in your year when do they have their festival, because you can drive through or take a bus through or even bicycle through the route that takes you past the tulip fields, which is so rewarding and beautiful. It's really a wonderful time of year. Well, anyway, that's just something about the dates about Easter and what you might think about as you're talking about your garden that you'd like to have for Easter time. Well, there's always more to learn in the garden. Goodbye.